Hey y'all, I'm gonna give you 3 quick tips to finding the right counselor for you, because I know this is something that people struggle with, and so I feel like if I can give you these 3 tips, they're not extensive at all. I'll probably expound on them in separate videos. It can at least get you started in the right direction. So that first tip I want to give you is you have to treat finding a counselor kind of like finding a doctor. And what I mean by that sentiment is essentially if you had a broken foot, you would probably not go to a OBGYN who's a women's health and birth and reproductive doctor for your issue. You probably go to a foot doctor, or you would go to a physical therapist for that. And so for counseling, it's a similar thing. Like if you are struggling in your marriage, you probably want to get a counselor who is, certified and licensed to do marriage counseling. Or if you are struggling with anger management, you want to go to a counselor who has specific certifications for anger management. Same thing with grief. So do not think that counselors are, one catch for everyone. No, they have specialties just like any other profession. So when you're Googling or typing in a counselor, kind of have whatever issue or problem you have in mind. So you can actually look for that counselor so they can best service you and serve you, and it's a good fit. And some counselors do have multiple certifications to be able to specialize in grief as well as specialize in anger management. But you just want to make sure they have that licensure or that certification to be able to do those multiple things. And so my second tip for you is do not let money or time be a barrier to you not looking for or getting a counselor. So for many people, they might say that time is an issue. And so if that is the case, there are lots of counselors that offer virtual sessions, so that way you're not have to worry about making a commute and driving somewhere. You can literally do your counseling session right after work on your phone in your car if you needed to. As far as money goes, if you have a job and you have insurance through that job, a lot of companies have what is called an EAP program, which is an employee assistance program, where they actually provide you with 3, maybe 4 or 5, it depends on the company, free counseling sessions. You just have to find a counselor who accepts EAP, which a lot of counselors do. And so that is something to definitely check with your HR with, or as well as you can call the number on the back of your insurance card company. It might say behavioral health, or it might actually say counseling services. But just being willing to check with your insurance company on that. Even if you don't have the EAP assistance program and you have private insurance, or you're coming through the marketplace, most of the time, if you're just able to check in with your insurance company, do a little Googling, do a little research, you'll find out that they can usually offer you some behavioral health assistance for a discounted rate, or even for free sometimes. And so you just have to be willing to do a little work on that end to actually look up that information, but it's definitely worth it. Now, I almost forgot to mention this in regards to, maybe not being able to afford a counselor. See if the counselor is able to work on a sliding scale, if that's something that their office offers. This is something that worked out well for me and David when we were struggling college students, and we had just got married, but we're still in college, didn't have any money. We found a counseling program that was able to work on a sliding scale, which essentially means they look at your financials, they see what bills are coming out, they see how much money you're bringing in, and they literally set your sessions at a price that you can afford at that time. Also, another thing you can't be scared to ask is, do they offer pro bono services? Because some counselors like to do this as a community service thing, or just a way to give back to the community, and you may not be able to afford it, and just letting them know you really want to use them as a counselor. And so, be willing to shoot your shot. Some will say yes, some will say no, but it's always a no if you don't ask. So I just wanted to mention that, because that is something that you should consider if finances is an issue. And kind of my last tip I want to give you is, you're going to kind of have to be patient with the finding a counselor process, because you may not find the perfect match or fit on the first counselor you try out. I know with me and my husband, when we done marriage counseling, we had the luck of being able to find a marriage counselor who was like amazing the very first time we sought out counseling. And so that worked out well. But then when it came to grief and I was searching for a grief counselor, that was not the process. I literally went through, I think, the 4th counselor I met for grief was the best match. So I had to go through those other 3 counselors and do a session with them, and kind of realize, okay, it wasn't really a good fit. It wasn't really what I was looking for. I'm kind of someone who likes more of an active version of counseling, where there's homework and assignments and back and forth conversation. And some counselors are more kind of talk therapy, and you talk through your feelings, which is good for some people, but it wasn't for me. So being willing to know that you may not find the best match as a counselor on the first go around, and it's okay to, kind of look around and shop around for counselors. You don't have to stick with the first counselor you meet. but also have somebody help you with your search process. You know, don't be scared to ask people who are their counselors or do they use a counselor, and use people's recommendations and suggestions and go from there, because it's definitely a process, but it's definitely worth it. Hopefully you found some of the information in this video to be helpful, and like I said, it's not very extensive, but just want to be something that could get you started, and I'll probably do videos on each one of these tips that gives you way more information in the future. But as of now, I want you to just get started on your health and well-being journey, and I just want you to know you're not alone in your journey, you're not alone in your struggle, and if you need any help or assistance with anything, don't hesitate to reach out, DM me, message me, and we can talk and see what we can get accomplished. But yeah, just know that you matter and your mental health matters.